The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Excuse me, and let me tell you something, and I'm embarrassed to admit this. Until I started this, I had no idea that there was no vetting of a presidential candidate or a president-elect by any organization within the federal government. The federal government does not vet or do a background on the elected candidate, and this came right from them. They told me that the way it's done is through the Constitution, which is the requirements to sit in office, through the loyal opposition, and through the media. If you look at this complete situation here, you've got the Constitution, as far as natural born, in my opinion, is being modified without a constitutional amendment, number one. Number two, you've got the media is complicit now and favors one side, the left, on this issue. So what does the loyal opposition do? They can scream and shout, but they don't have the media outlets, and you don't have media backing the play, looking into the issue. This is how we end up where we are today.
Exactly. You know, when Glenn Beck, he was the main reason I watched Fox News. And when he pulled out of Fox News and started his own thing, you know, that was a truly, truly sad day in America for that. I can tell you that. He had that much information he put out. It was unbelievable. And he was hitting the nail right on the head. I mean, that man, it was a shame when he left mainstream media because he was telling the truth. He gave the truth. And he said it, he gave it like it is. And I believe he just got picked up by Dish Network. So I think I'll be switching to Dish Network because that guy, he doesn't play games. He hits it on the head all the time. You know, I don't know how he gets his information, but boy, he had everybody's attention. And then when he went off mainstream media, you know, everything started shifting slowly back. You know, even Fox News now, you know, they're the only one I believe is Hannity who has any kind of cajoons on him, you know. And they I believe that they tame him too. He's on a leash also to an extent.
I could tell you for a fact that he is, because he wanted to have us on and he couldn't get us on. So I know for a fact he is. And, you know, Judge Napolitano, who's a libertarian, you know, they got rid of his show. You know,
Yeah.
and here's a man that understands the law. But they didn't like what he was saying, so they got rid of him. And it should also, you know, you got to point out, too, that Fox News, I believe 17% of that station is owned by Saudi money. You know, so there's this Saudi influence in a lot of things. There's Saudi influence behind Obama. You know, there's financial resources. So you really have to start thinking about, you know, what's going on here. And in this country to have, you know, talk about laws making it illegal to speak against Islam in this country? Really?
Yeah, what happened to the First Amendment, you know?
Where'd it go? You know? So, we are, just like you said, being fundamentally changed. And people don't realize, I don't think, the severity of what that term is. When you say fundamentally, it's talking about uprooting what this nation was built on. To fundamentally change anything, you go to the foundation.
Exactly. Destroy from within, brother. And that's what I truly believe that. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but after hearing what you had to say in that presentation, boy, that was like a slap in the face, and it woke me right up. Because prior to that, I was all about the whole, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Second Amendment advocate. And I honor our military, and I honor the police that do the right thing. Anybody who wears a badge and does the right thing, I honor them. There's a lot of bad out there, and there's a lot of good, too.
Yeah, there is. And you know, going back even to law enforcement, the way, you know, that's changed, you know, there's misdirection now in law enforcement. You know, they forget what they're really here for. It's to protect and serve, not drive around and thump you.
Exactly.
And that needs to change. We need to get back to what we were. There's nothing wrong in 200-year-old principles. They've worked for 200 years. You don't need to change them.
Exactly. And up until 1968, anybody could buy a firearm. So for 192 years prior to 1968, everybody was fine. I mean, we still had violence, sure, and there's shootings and this and that, but a lot of the violence is black on black shootings and Hispanic on Hispanic shootings. It's not, and it's sad. It's actually a decay of society. And brother, let me tell you, as a young kid, I didn't want to be brought home by the police, because when I got home, the old man was going to give it to me like there was no tomorrow. You know, I'd rather pay a fine than go home to the old man, because that's what it was like when growing up back then. Black and white TV, you know, you're out shoveling payments in the wintertime to make a couple bucks. You're out cutting grass in the summertime to make a couple extra bucks. There was none of this this decay that there is today. There was a whole the family life was a lot different. A lot different.
I agree. I agree with you. And, you know, there should be, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I do understand the psychological issues where someone maybe should be prohibited from owning a firearm. But beyond that, I don't think anybody should have that restricted. And the lie that goes out there, you know, and it's on every news station here, you can't buy a machine gun. That's not true. Mm-hmm. That's not true. Pay a $200 tax stamp, get a background check, and you can own as many machine guns as you want. You know,
absolutely.
But the way they convince the public of things, you know, you should never. I don't fear a gun. And look, we're in Arizona. Arizona, you don't need a permit to carry concealed. You don't need a permit to buy a gun. You just got to go and get a background check. When I first moved out here from New Jersey, I was freaking out. I went into a supermarket. You could buy a dozen eggs, milk, and walk by a counter and pick up a .357 Magnum on your way out. That was in a supermarket.
Oh, I'm older, brother.
This was heaven. This was heaven at one time, man. You know, and I was freaking out. And then I get out there, and there's a guy on a Harley tatted up with a big nickel-plated Magnum on his belt. And I'm like, somebody call the police. Because where I come from, the only guys that have guns are cops and bad guys.
Yeah.
And
see that? That's how they condition us.
You know what? There aren't cops on the street out here that are afraid of a good guy with a gun. You treat everybody as they're armed. And you know what? We don't treat you any different. We walk right up to you and we talk to you, just like you would anywhere else. The fact that you have a gun is not something that prohibits us or causes us to act any differently. And it just proves that society can mold and conform to something once you break the cloud that's around you. You know, now I understand in places like New York City where they would be apprehensive because they're packed like sardines in there. Mm-hmm. I could understand that rationale, but at some point in time, you got to get to where you can't make it so onerous that someone can't protect themselves.
I hear you, brother. And tell you what, we got about 3 minutes left of the show here, my man. You know, Mike, I commend you for the work you've done for the past almost 2 years that you put in, and you're still not done. Well, I'll make that quite clear, people. This is ongoing, and the fraudulent, forged birth certificate of this whoever he is in the White House is just the tip of the iceberg. And I hope, and I truly hope, that this can be resolved peacefully, because this has been one of the biggest scams ever pulled on the American people in the history of this country. The history. Yes. And I truly believe that they've been working up to this point for a very, very, very long time. So if there's any information you want to give out, Mike, knock it out where people can get, I don't know if you want to give out information where they can get an email or something, if they can get in touch with you, or whoever. It's up to you. You don't have to give that information out, but if there's, anything you want to give out.
Well, let's just, there's an email link to the website. I'm not going to give my direct email. I get inundated. But if they just go to, like I said, www.mcsoccp.org, they can get a wealth of information over there. They can watch those press conference videos, and I guarantee you they'll become believers.
Absolutely. People, you need to start sharing that information. Go to the website. Put it out on your Facebook accounts. Put it out on your website accounts. We're going to link you up on chiefkessler.com, brother. We're going to get all the information we can. We're going to put it on there. We're going to start blasting it. I'm going to get some of my media contacts to contact you, see if we can get you to come on their shows and discuss what's going on, because we need to bring this to light. And I'm not going to sit back and watch my country go down the toilet for what my father shed his blood for in Vietnam. My dad, well, he was a ground pounder in Vietnam. He was in the blood and guts. And my grandfather, German grandfather, spent 2 years in a Nazi prison camp and then fought in the Battle of the Bulge against Hitler. And if you read the playbook, it's almost identical what they're doing right now here in this country. And this guy, whoever he may be, that's sitting in the White House, is fundamentally changing this nation at an alarming rate like never seen before in history. It's truly frightening. It really, truly is disturbing. And I give you huge, huge credit, brother, for doing what you do, because it takes a set. And believe me, folks, Mike is probably one of the nicest. He's one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. Trust me on that, brother. I tell you what, Mike, thanks for calling in today. Thanks for co-hosting the show with me, and we'll have to get you back on, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you soon.
I look forward to seeing you again, Chief, and thank you for your support. I really, really appreciate it. You be safe, brother.
You too. Thanks, brother. You take care now.
You too.
Okay, folks, that's Mike Zulu was just on air with us, and we're going to rebroadcast this. It'll be in our archives on chiefkessler.com. Again, I thank Mike for what he's doing, and we all need to stand up and do something. We'll be back on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Second Amendment Fridays and Joshua Prince from Prince Law. Have a good day, people.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.